Going live, monkey. You ready? You ready? Huh? You're born ready. Look at you. Maybe you're just an absolute stallion. Just an absolute stallion. Okay. Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's a little after dark. I had to postpone the interview with, excuse me, Bill Marler. We're going to try again for next Wednesday for the Politics channel. Got a late start today. Tried going to the doctors because my shoulder is still messed up, and all they did was give me an appointment for tomorrow morning. So I'm going to do that tomorrow morning. But got some news happening today. We got rate cut. The feds came in, dropped it 50 basis points. I think it's too early, but we got an election coming up, and they want to make things all nice and honky-dory if they can. But, you know, we did that in 2008, and everything still came fucking crashing down before the election. Oh, my God, my shoulder's killing me. So we'll see if that's, like, too early, too late, whatever. We have Ryan Cohen is paying a fine of almost $1 million, like $987,000. It's tied to his purchase of Wells Fargo shares. Purchased 500 and something thousand Wells Fargo shares. They're saying he had to file some sort of paperwork. I really don't understand what all the intricacies were for it, because he requested to be put on the board. He didn't get put on the board, but he wrote a letter saying, "I would like to be on your board. I have 500,000 shares." And apparently because he sent that letter and didn't file some sort of documentation at SEC, he was in some sort of antitrust violation. Whatever. It has nothing to do with anything we've got going on. But it looks like he was trying to save Wells Fargo, because it's pretty obvious Wells Fargo is doomed. Oh, yeah. And then the craziest out of a movie spy plot I've ever seen unfold, where Israel was able to target individual members of Hezbollah based on their cell phone signals. So Hezbollah last February is like, stop using your cell phones, destroy them all, throw them away, put them into a metal cage, stop using them. And they went to paper notes and pagers. So it appears, trying to piece together everything from open source intelligence guys, is that it looks as though an Iranian agent for Hezbollah made a bulk order of thousands of pagers from a shop in Los Angeles. Now, this could all be rumor and innuendo, but this is what's been pieced together so far. And that the shop in Los Angeles is likely owned by an Israeli-American family. And they went, why does this group in Iran want to order thousands of pagers from us? And they called up Israel like, hey, we got something for you. Israel did their investigation, and they included, okay, we're going to sell them these pagers. And so they got the pagers, they took them apart, took out the batteries, added in 20 grams of plastic, as well as a detonator and some sort of chip that could be signal triggered. And they put them all together. They shipped them off to Iran. Iran then shipped them to Lebanon, where they got distributed to officers of Hezbollah. Now they're doing all their communication on these things. This is back in July, so it's only a couple of months ago that they distributed all these things. It appears that someone inside the Hezbollah organization became aware of the explosives inside the devices. Now, how that happened, not quite sure. It may have been from a device broke. They went to repair it, found the plastic inside, and it may have been in front of an Israeli agent who was working undercover. And that guy was like, quick, detonate them all. And Israel went boop, bop, boop, and sent out the messages. The CCTV footage has come out. It's been pretty crazy. You've got, guys that are at a market trying to buy some fruit, and their pager goes off. They go, oh, message. And they look down, and boom, blows up in their face, flew up in their pockets, took the eyes of thousands of folks, blew off the dicks of thousands of folks, killed several people, including a child. The Iranian ambassador to Lebanon lost, I think, both his eyes because he had one of the Hezbollah pagers. Just an absolutely crazy, regardless of your opinion on the Israel Palestinian conflict and war, an absolutely diabolical, incredible play. Just like mind-blowing that was something that even occurred to someone and that they pulled it off. It'll probably be made into a movie at some point. I was thinking if it gets made a movie, they should call it like Operation Briss or something like that. And then apparently they also started detonating handheld radios that belonged to Hezbollah. So they had them. They've had these things in devices. So I'm sure everybody in Hezbollah is absolutely paranoid of every piece of electronic device they have, ripping apart radios and cell phones and everything else. Just wild. And then on the Ukrainian side, Ukraine versus Russia war, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine's been given permission to strike further out with their weapons. They sent over 100 drones to go get, what was it called? The Toro, what was the name of it? Toro, I can't remember. The Toropets munition depot. It opened in 2018. It's a fanfare like, oh, this is the most secure bunkers in the world. Nothing can stop it. And it looks as though the bunkers were perhaps connected by underground tunnels. So when you blew up one of them, it blew up all the other ones. The video footage is... I before we even do the intro, I'm going to show the video footage from it because it is some of the most incredible explosions I've ever seen. It is absolutely phenomenal. Why are you playing an ad?
I took two things that I
okay.
love, dancing and dogs,
whatever.
and I made them into a
I
successful
don't want you to hear that. All right. Skip. Pause. Go to there. Go to there. Blink, blink. Done. Make you big. Just bonkers. You can... Like before, you see this fireball forming right here, right? Right at the very, 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 come on, all the way back. Right at the very beginning here, you can see there's a weather system being formed from this. And you can see in the smoke at the bottom, the shock wave come through. And it is incredible. Look at that. You can see all the individual bunkers now starting to light off from that big explosion. Inside of this bunker was all of the munitions that Russia had gotten from North Korea. Like all their fancy long-range missiles and stuff. Just boom, look at this fire column. Like, holy cow. That is insane. And this is a complex that was 5 kilometers by 2 kilometers. It's looking at a 10 square kilometer area that is just erupted in explosions. And this is hours later at daybreak, and you can see like these people are probably miles and miles away, and you can see just the fire columns for a huge stretch of land. Just absolutely bonkers. Bonkers. Kitty, bonkers. Insane. So, there's my intro. I forgot to turn it off from last show. So, that's a double intro, but it's actually a single intro because I totally forgot to turn off the intro from the last show. And now it's off. There we go. One intro. That's all you get. So, yeah, that's your news for the day. Just mind-blowing events. Personally, I like myself some fireworks. I do. I like watching fireworks. I think they're evil and they destroy poor monkey butt brains and whatnot. But I would not have minded to be on a hillside to watch that entire place detonate just for like the wow factor. Okay, so kitty, puppy dog. Anybody got anything? Anything for to bring on? That's all my news I had for right off the bat. Yeah, the market didn't go too crazy. It looked like they kind of priced in the cut already and just kind of, hovered right around where like the SPY peak has been, the SPY record has been. So there we are. To the chats. Colin first. Kelly Reed second. Kelly Reed also says $4 billion puts GME at rank 250 of the U.S. largest banks by total domestic deposits. Oh, sorry. I'm not talking about puts, like the options. The $4 billion they have would rank GME as the top 250 banks in the country. Okay. All right. I understand now. All right. Happy birthday, HW. What's your thoughts on the rate cuts? Hope you are all buckled in. Bigger crash than '08. I think it's too early. I would have waited another month or two to get inflation down more, but I think they're looking at the jobs report and they're looking at the fact it's an election, and that was their motive to do the rate cuts now, to hope keep the market up for another 2 months, and then whatever happens after that. There is no hope for commercial real estate. It's done. It's toast. Man, sorry, my shoulder is it's been a month and it is killing me to the point where like it's pinched off a nerve and it just makes everything tingly all the way down my arm, and it's making my brain not work as well as it should. But yeah, will it be bigger than '08? I think it depends upon what the cascading factors are from the commercial real estate collapse. If commercial real estate brings down the local banks, and the local banks bring down lines of credit for industry and business all over, right? Then you can see people missing payroll. You can see huge amounts of money having to leave the Federal Reserve and the Treasury to like bolster all these things. And the emergency sale and auctioning of these commercial properties would cause a depression among so much of that land. And how much can that bring down residential real estate? Property's property, right? I still think it could be pretty big. I just don't know when all these banks are finally going to admit that they have these losses. How much longer can they pretend, I guess, is the question to ask. Zapdos. Shout out to Monkey Butt and the Fat Cat and Kitten. Well, Kitten's downstairs. Monkey Butt's right here. The Fat Cat just wandered away. I don't know where he's going. Oh, do you not like the surprise slap on the butt? That's your job. Your job is to get butt slapped. That's the entire reason you exist. Yeah, you can give me side eye all you want. She's like, pay me in treats. Keith Chapman, what do you think of RC's settlement with FTC? Was halfway listening to a space call, and OKBet was saying that it's significant development. I don't think it has anything to do with any play we're in. Some people are saying that he was using those Wells Fargo shares as collateral for something. How much? What is WFC share price? So Wells Fargo is $54. So clear 54 times 542,000, I think was what it was. So it's $29 million worth of shares. It's a good chunk of shares. But the dude's worth $4 billion. So, so $29 million in shares. It was being used as collateral towards something else. I'm not sure what. But whatever it is, it ain't that big a deal, I think. So I think it's just like, man, cut him a check, whatever type thing. Yeah, I didn't fill out that paperwork. Oh, no. And I think that's kind of how they're treating it. Hey, fat boy. You back to for some lovin'? Peachy Sunday. Apparently, recession generally follows after Fed lowers rates after significant tightening. I mean, in '08 it happened. They went, oh, let's cut some rates. And then, boom, biggest recession of our lifetime. On a different note, why does MrBeast have a creepy smile on all his pictures? He's just a creepy looking dude. He's getting sued. Apparently, he had some sort of game show and everyone was saying that they got horrendously abused and injured. He's also getting sued because all of his giveaways apparently went to like friends and family and not actual raffles of participants. Like if you were not one of his friends and family, you had a 0% chance of winning because only his friends and family got free homes and cars and everything else. Yeah. So he might be in trouble. Not your friend, Aloha from Wahoo. Hello, Jason Blackwell. Hey, Jason. Where Trump is going to live after the 2024 election with what 3 words? Where is he going to live after the 2024 Election. What? 3 words. Boom. 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 Where are we? That's just green. Do we have a forest? We have an island. Oh, is this Castaway Island? Disappointment Island. Castaway Bay. Okay, Disappointment. Where's Disappointment Island? It is off of Auckland Island, Motu Maha, Enbury Island, Adams Island. Where are we? Oh, we're off the South Island of New Zealand. Ah, that's way down here. Look at these little glacial fjords in here. Is there anybody down here? Are there any towns? It's just completely uninhabited patch of green here. Looks like cliffs, 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 cliffs. No towns, no towns, no towns, no towns. Nothing. Nothing. Huh. How far down are we? Gotta be like below 50 degrees, right? This looks completely uninhabited, huh? Chambers Inlet. Disappointment Island. Disappointment Island also, it's got some little fjords and nothing on there. Not even sheep. Huh. So it could be population him. Well, there you go. That's for the World Island Tour. Kind of looks like a flower vase. How far from the mainland are they? Do I have a scale down here? No, of course not. And it's in what 3 words, so I have no way of measuring things. But there you go. Huh. I bet it's cold as shit and windy as hell down there. Mr. Oak, hey, Houston. Any updates with No Labs? They released some sort of thing saying that they did further testing. I saw like a week or 2 ago. And in it they said they're working on their goal towards FDA application. That was maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It was just kind of like a little blurb news release. Didn't really seem like anything that big. It was that they're having the results published in a peer-reviewed journal. That's what it was. So the results, which they'd shown last spring at an industry scientific convention, that they were now having that peer-reviewed, and it got approved for peer review, and it was going to get published in an industry in a peer-reviewed scientific journal. Ford ZZ9, you check in on OK Bet's space today. Seemed really certain of everything. He does seem very certain. I've not had a chance to do anything. I did not get as much reading done as I normally do today. My aunt came to town, took me out to lunch. We chit-chatted. I helped her with her computer and her phone, which happened. She always like, can I come take you to lunch? And it just means, can I take you to lunch so that you fix my computer and phone for me? And so I spent a lot of time fixing her computer and phone. And then came home and decided my arm hurts so much I need a doctor's appointment. And so I called the doctors, and the doctor's like, we don't have any appointments until October 14th. I was like, cool, because it's already been hurting for a month. I don't want another month of this. He said, but one of our clinics in Bremerton, they have an after hours, first come, first serve. So if you leave now, you might get there in time. So I left, and I did not get there in time. But they said, hey, maybe there'll be some opening. And there was an opening. And then the very nice dude who worked behind the counter was like, I found an opening at another one of our clinics tomorrow morning at 9:30. Go. And so tomorrow morning, have somebody. I think all that needs to happen is I need a massage. But I want insurance to pay for my massage because that's what insurance is for. So I need a doctor to go, massage prescription. And then insurance pays for it. And somebody just like beats me like a drum for, I don't know, however long it takes until all of a sudden the feeling comes back in my arm. That's all I need. Because seriously, it's like right there, and it just goes right down the trap muscle into the back of the shoulder, and then pinches off a nerve, and everything's all tingly. And it's weird because my grip strength is like, I can hold a glass just fine, but I can't like pull the foil on the cat's little pate I got to use to give him his asthma drugs. And it's like, I don't have grip strength to pull that foil anymore, and it's very frustrating. Defeated by foil. All because I slept on my neck weird a month ago, and my life has been ruined ever since. First Day Productions, Houston. If we drilled a 10 wide hole, a 10 mile wide hole through the center of the moon or Mars, it would jump into the hole, what would happen? Okay, so here's somehow to like clear a hole all the way through a planet. Big old tube. On the moon, right, there's no atmosphere. So it's just void of space. So you would fall through and you would reach terminal velocity, which on the moon, I think is like 5,000 kilometers per second or something ridiculous like that. So you'd fall for about, the moon's what, 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles across? Somewhere around there. So you'd fall for about 1,000 miles, reaching a terminal velocity of 5,000 miles per second. You would pass through the center and you would slow down. You'd slow down until you reach the surface of the other side of the moon. And then you'd pass right through that hole again and you just become this permanent yo-yo, bouncing up and down, essentially forever, unless you somehow like were bouncing off the sides of that thing and got slowed down that way. But it'd be essentially forever, right? Mars, again, Mars doesn't have a molten core like the Earth, just like the moon, no molten core on the moon. So you theoretically could drill a hole all the way through that. Mars does have an atmosphere though. So what would happen with Mars is you would probably reach something close to a terminal velocity and the gases would pour down into that hole, making it very dense towards the center. And as you approach the center, you would probably start burning up. And then you would pass through it and slow down again. And then turn around, not make it to the other side because you have all this air resistance. And then you would slow down and you'd burn up some more, 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 and you'd probably just back to and then you'd be stuck at the center of Mars in the middle of that giant straw that you drilled through the planet forever. So those are the two options you have. Try to do it on the Earth, you would just make giant volcanoes because you're going into the center goo of the Earth's molten core. You try in gaseous giants, they won't even notice, just fill them with gas again. So yeah, those are two options. No atmosphere, bounce forever. With atmosphere, cook and then get stuck. So there you are. Froze State Productions. That's the other one. Rose Moon, Houston. I missed the whole spiel on how IEP is a good play. Can you summarize, please? Also, my kitty says hi to your kitties and monkey. Kitty? Hello, monkey. Hello. IEP right now, well, the price went up to 13 something. It's at 13.37 or something today. It had dropped below $10 very briefly in the past week. It pays out $1 per quarter per share. So you pay $13, you get $4 back off that one share. If you reinvest those, you get even more back in the end because you have more shares than you started with. So it's paying out. The payout was around 40% if it was when it was at $10 and below. Now 13 is probably like 35% payout, which is really great returns. The shorts are claiming that IEP is a giant Ponzi scheme and it's going to go under. And Carl Icahn going, I'm going to destroy you all. And he's got something planned for him. He had announced a renewal of a $400 million unit sale he had done several years ago and hadn't sold. So he announced, hey, we're going to keep this thing going. He's only sold $3.5 million worth of that, so less than 1% in the entire time that thing has been open. But the shorts are treated as though he diluted and dumped shares in the market, and he never did that. So the price reflected accordingly, meaning the shorts were shorting like crazy. And I think he just got them trapped really, 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 really bad. With a whole bunch of naked shorts that they can't back up. He owns 90% of the company, something like that. So at any moment he could be like, yeah, I'm just going to buy all the shares in the market and squeeze the thing. So those are kind of the two aspects. Either the shorts are right and he is a big giant liar and it's all falling apart, or he just screwed them all over. And I'm going with the screwed them all over thing because that's kind of what he does. Exclusive 605, I miss Big Stupid Dog. Oh man. I told my sister, like, she's worried she might get called up again to active duty. She's currently mustering all the way out in, not Annapolis, it's near DC. And it is a pain in the ass because she's like, once a month, got to fly all the way to DC do her weekend, fly all the way back. But, you know, military conflicts all over the world are very warm. And she's like, I'm scared I might get called up again. If that's the case, then I'm stuck with that big stupid dog again. But, you know, Monkey might enjoy him. I don't know. She kind of is like, with him towards the end. Yeah, I'm talking about you. You and your personality of what you like and don't like. Yeah, you're looking up there. I see you looking up there. Yeah, no one's demanded a treat yet. Leave account. Where can I find OK Bet Space? On Twitter, right? Geminius Houston. Trump was talking about making his tax break permanent. Is that ever something that's possible? Wouldn't the next person just revert at their discretion? Well, he made it so they expire in 2027 as it is. His tax cut didn't really help middle-class people all that much. It did help very, very, very rich people. If you are in the top 0.1%, you are saving on average something like $347,000 a year on taxes. If you were below middle class, I'm talking a family household that makes $75,000 a year, which is below middle class, you're saving maybe $900 a year. Under the Harris plan, you'd save almost $5,000 a year, and the 0.1% would pay $200,000 to $400,000 more per year. So you save a lot more money under the Harris plan than you ever did under the Trump plan, while making people who are in the upper echelon pay more of their fair share. Now, some of you may be in the upper echelon. Who knows? Maybe in the next week we'll be in the upper echelon, but we've kind of been waiting a while for that. I don't mind paying taxes if I have a shitload of money. Who cares? I already have the shitload of money. I don't care. I'd rather have functioning schools, highways, airports, satellite systems, stuff like that, than an unfunctioning everything. And some rich people, you know, they get to have like their private security enclaves, and the rest of us are like a teeming mass of, you know, roving gangs at that point. So say what you will. If you are an average human being, you will save under the Harris plan versus the Trump plan. Paratarian Houston. Realistically, I'm thinking we won't see any return on our GME investment for another few years. Just make it happen, RC. It's been 4 years already. We're to the point where we're about to be in this longer than the Confederacy was ever in existence. Like, just make it happen, dude. Make it happen. Mr. E-Machine. You guys remember E-Machines? When did that company go out of business? They had the computers that they promised would never, what do they say? What do they call it? It would never go obsolete, because you would just get a new one like every 2 years. And that plan didn't work. It failed. Mr. E-Machine, how much IP does ICANN own? He owns like 85 or 90% of it. So almost all of it? Paratarian, maybe we see a boom during a crash, but unless there's multiple billions of shares still out there and never been closed on these run-ups and drops, I don't know how we expect anything given the dilutions. Well, I don't know if you saw the data that came out this week on BBBY naked short sale data, but it was showing that essentially almost every day for like 5 months, around 130% of the entire float was being sold naked for months on end. So if Bed Bath bounces back, like I'd estimated that there is, you know, let's say 5 billion shares. This puts it at tens of billions of shares that they may have to go back and close. And I don't think there's a way that anyone who shorted it survives if that's the level of shorting that they're doing. The data is pretty crazy. Like, you know, we're talking, some of it was showing like 900 million shares a day trading. There is, if Hudson Bay exercised everything and all of the options went out and all the warrants got exercised and everything, at most there'd be 700 million shares. If those did not get exercised, you're down to like 117 or 90 million shares. So 10 times the float in just, naked shorting every single solitary day is mind-blowing. From April all the way until the end of September last year. Just a unsustainable amount of naked short selling. So, if we're right, and the powers that be are going to give shareholders back their equity and pass out a cash value to those shareholders and set a floor price at something, somewhat magical, like $40. Let's say they oversold by 20 billion shares in that time. Let's just do a quick little math on the side here. No, clear. I'm gonna do a 900 million times, what was it, like 4 months minus weekends. So call it, that would be like 100 days. Okay, so that's 90 billion shares. Now, granted, they probably went in their day trading and they probably bought some of them up. So cut it in half, 45 billion shares, right? So, oops. Cut it in half, 45 billion shares times $44. Looking at $1.9 trillion in liability. Just at the market price if the stock comes back at a $45 level. So $2 trillion starting in their liability. And then they got to go out there and make 45 billion purchases to close out. Well, the stock price is going to go to like 9 figures. People have no reason to sell. Why would I sell? I don't have to. You got to buy this stock 45 billion times. Well, I can hold. I can hold until one share allows me to retire. And plus, if people get a cash payout, I'm not guaranteeing anything. If they get a cash payout, a lot of folks, I would bet the average holdings of you folks in here that have Bed Bath are at 10,000 shares or more. So if you get a $40 or $60 payout, you got $400,000 to $600,000. You are in no rush to do anything. You can pay your bills. You can sit on a beach somewhere staring at your phone, waiting for those numbers to get crooked enough in like phone numbers before you go, all right, fine, I'll sell one. So there's going to be no rush. You just chill. Like, if we get a payout, we can all go find a beach somewhere and hang out and play volleyball, just waiting until it's time to sell. Have ourselves a tax write-off conference, if you will. Some 5-star resort in Tahiti. Frozen Productions. I just keep trying to read that one because the one above you I highlighted, and I won't read that all over again. B of H, Gymnius depends on who the tax breaks are for. Oh, talking about the tax breaks earlier, the Gymnius talking about. Scott Paul in Houston, big floods in Poland. Just picked up a fancy card in plastic at GameStop. Very cool experience. More like a local card shop than anything else. The flooding in Central Europe is bonkers. Let's go to the Google Earth and we can kind of explain what was happening there. This one. We're still in Street View. Whoops. Where'd you go? There you are. Still in Street View here on Bainbridge. We need to leave Bainbridge. Exit Street View. I'll fly around the world. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. We're leaving. We're going to make this thing go north again. And we are going to fly to Europe. As we were talking about back in June, everything is either heat dome or flooding. That's basically what the world has sort of become in the summertime systems. And you got the big Earth here. Now, normally you have the jet stream. The jet stream kind of passes at 47 to 50 degrees north, and it brings lots of storm systems into Washington. That's why Washington is very wet, because storm system comes through here, and they come through, and the jet stream kind of goes across, and it blows across, and it goes into Europe, and it just kind of continues on its way. We have really, really weird heat domes forming, and really, really intense sunshine and heating happening at the equator. And it's causing these leaks of high pressure systems from the north. And so what they had in Europe this last week was what should be pretty cold air forming, because we're getting to the point where we're at fall equinox, right? So the sun's getting lower and lower and lower. So the air should be getting colder and colder. And the jet stream is doing weird curly cues as it's flying all over the world. So it did this weird curly cue where it went up north, bent down south, went back up north again around Europe, and this low pressure storm system got stuck, just spinning for like 3 days. And this storm system has got two bad things going for it. One is the amount of moisture that the air can hold as temperatures go up increases. So the storm systems have more water now than they ever did in the past. So they have the potential to just dump more water on the surface than they did before. And because it got pinched between the jet stream, you've got these two high pressure systems. You have one that's sitting over like France and Iberia and North Africa, which is why Portugal's all on fire right now. They have a big heat dome. And then you have one that was sitting over Eastern Europe. And these two heat domes, lots of heat, lots of temperature, lots of warmth, meeting this cold air that came down from North Atlantic, from the Arctic, and it met. And where it met caused almost instant condensation along that border, from that warm air that had lots of moisture trapped in it, hits cold air, condenses, drops. And so that storm just spun. And it spun, and it spun, and it spun, and it spun. And what you had ski resorts out here in Austria in a single day getting 3 meters of snow, talking like 12 feet of snow in a single day. Lower elevations, it rained 30 centimeters, 40, 50, 60 centimeters. Dams burst in the Czech Republic, dams burst in Slovakia, dams burst in Poland, and the water all had to go somewhere, and it goes downhill. So everyone got flooded. Now, in 97, Poland had basically the worst floods ever. And they devoted a huge chunk of their GDP to building levees and making it so this flood can never happen again. So they built for the 97 flood. The floods, we're talking like 10 hours before peak, were already a meter above the 97 floods. So basically, Poland was just doomed to begin with. The amount of rain is bonkers, and the line that was drawn is pretty incredible. So it kind of sat over Austria, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and just spun here, and all that water went downhill into Poland. Whereas, Switzerland, you got a little dusting of snow. You're in France, sunny and beautiful. You're in Spain and Portugal, everything's on fire. Portugal is burning like crazy. They're having the worst wildfires they may have ever had. And then you go to the opposite side over here, and it's also big high pressure system, sunny, clear, and so you have these two heat domes forming, and that is basically what our world is becoming. You're either under a heat dome or you're flooding, and that's going to be our summers from here on out. So get used to it. It happened all summer. We had heat dome over Texas. And then the states that bordered that, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, got huge storms and flooding. New Mexico, huge storms and flooding, right? Down here, we had a heat dome over Mexico. The same heat dome was over Mexico and Texas, caused gigantic flooding as the storms touched that heat dome and just dumped rain. Same thing happened down in Chile, heat dome, storm flooding. And that same heat dome caused storm flooding in Brazil, and now we've got the heat dome over the Amazon, and everything's on fire. It's just that's our future. It's just heat domes and floods, heat domes and floods, heat domes and floods. So much damage happened in this rain event that like crops can't be harvested, like they're gone. Any wheat harvest Poland had, gone. Growing potatoes, they have washed away. So the combination of heat domes and storms are probably going to lead to international food security by far. Because what happens is, if Europe can't provide their own food, they're rich enough, they will buy the food from countries that usually use it to feed themselves. Because they go, oh, well, that's a pretty good price. And then countries that can't go out in the market and buy food end up sending all their food overseas to places like Europe, and they starve. Especially since, 30% of the wheat harvest is either coming from Russia or Ukraine, and much of that is blocked by sanctions or war, etc. That, you know, we're going to complicate food in the next year as a result of all this. So if you see higher grocery prices, well, we did it to ourselves by releasing as much carbon in the air as we did. So, you know, that's our future. Get ready. I think regardless of the tax plans, we're going to be roving bands of marauding warriors anyway. Corporate Walnut, what conspiracies do you buy into? I think the closest thing to a conspiracy I buy into is Russian influence campaigns exist. I mean, you just look at our subreddit and you know that there's the bot traffic from Russians is bonkers. So, you know, people are like, Russia. It doesn't happen. We're literally arresting people and charging them with crimes for taking Russian money to do influence campaigns almost weekly right now. So yeah, I think Russian influence campaigns are a very real thing. Outside of that, like, flat earth people are bogus. The 9/11 truthers are bogus. The anti-vaxxers are bogus. The raw milk people are bogus. I don't know. Monkey? Anything to add? What do you hear me harp about, huh? I mean, I buy into the whole Epstein thing and the now Sean Puffy Combs thing. It seems like those guys were all up to no good on there. So yeah. Anomath H, have you seen the storm damage in Shanghai? Yeah, China got hit with 2 typhoons, one right after the other, and they had significant wind damage pretty far inland. I've not seen the specific to Shanghai. I've seen videos of, you know, roofs getting ripped off, walls getting ripped off. Some really scary videos of like the windows on residential high rises all getting torn away. And so you're in a building and you're like 300-400 feet up and there's no guard railing anymore. It's just wind blowing and taking everything out of your living room, just sucking it out into the air. Scary. I would just sit in the bathroom with like a mattress over me and just hope the building didn't blow away, especially with that tofu dang construction that China has. But no, I've not seen specific Shanghai typhoon damage. Images. Lots of trees down. Here we go. All right. Go there. Turn off the Google Earth. Here is the path of the recent storm. Typhoon Babinka lands in Shanghai. It looks like direct hit there. Went pretty far inland. Big waves along the wall. I would not want to be anybody along that wall. It's one way to get sucked out. I mean, look at that angry sea right there. China hit by strongest typhoon in half a century. Those stick-built buildings didn't look like they do very well. I saw lots of footage of landslides. Ooh, look at that wave. Holy smokes. Is that fake? This is fake. Never mind, that's fake. Screw those guys posting fake pictures. Here's a satellite photo of the typhoon as it's making landfall. So Shanghai was not in the I zone. So it looks like Taizhou and Ningbo are the ones that took the brunt of it. So, yeah. And the storms will only get more powerful. They're just going to hold more water and suck up more energy out of the ocean and just get more and more brutal each day. Of course, flooding. It's going to drop like 3 feet of rain. I don't even know what that is. Is that a building? It's like somebody's like put their camera down in the floodwaters to make. And then why are you trying to use an umbrella in a windstorm, you dummies? Like, people in Seattle don't use umbrellas. We don't. Umbrellas are stupid. You get a jacket with a hood and you cinch the hood, and that's what you do. Why? Because it blows sideways all winter long, and if you have an umbrella, it's going to poke you in the face. It's going to rip out of your arms. Get a jacket. Get a jacket and some like weatherproof pants, and there you go. That's umbrellas for places that don't have wind. And if you have a hurricane coming, you're like, oh, put my umbrella. You can be like that doofus. No. You can always tell tourists from the locals in Seattle because the tourists have umbrellas and the locals just have their North Face jackets cinched up so they see this much of their face. Because the rain just comes sideways and an umbrella doesn't do no good. Ooh, Scott Pollen got coordinates. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back to the Google Earth and we'll coordinate. We'll coordinate here. Boom, bang, bing, shabam. Okay, I gotta click that. I go back, comma, enter. Oh crap, that's 11. I fell for it again. God damn, it's been so long. My brain didn't even, could have just read latitude and longitude of the words. That's, you got me. We're not going there. I just read latitude and then longitude and I just copied and saw, and my brain even clicked that it was minus 11 minutes. Okay. Scott Ball and Parataran agree this is time to accumulate a sizable position, and every time you want to remodel a kitchen or bathroom in your house in 10 years, sell a couple shares and pay cap gains tax. Yeah. BFH, so much Republican policy makes sense when you look at it through the lens of how does something accelerate the apocalypse? Yeah, if you want Jesus to come back, anything bad's good, right? Because the end of the world is the end of the world. So, Jiminy is Houston. What's going on with the Republican Party? They seem to have lost the plot. They had 4 years to develop a real candidate and basically did nothing. This dude will try again 28 after he loses. I mean, I have a feeling he's going to be facing a lot of convictions before 28. Because if he loses this one, there's no one holding back him facing charges. The courts, the Republicans in the courts will be told, like, don't try to save him. Because he can't win. But he will control the party. So you got to figure out some way to usurp him. And that way it's going to be everyone gets on board convicting him. I think Trump and JD Vance with their stupid, they're eating cats and dogs thing and causing Springfield to be overrun with white supremacist gangs. We got neo-Nazis and KKK doing marches with guns. We have something like 40 or 50 bomb threats against schools, charities, municipal buildings. The people feel under siege and it's making Ohio look really stupid. And I think JD may have managed to overcome the 10-point gap between Trump up here and Kamala down here to now Kamala might take Ohio as a result. The racist comments has resulted in like now a significant 3-4 point lead in Pennsylvania, a significant lead happening now in North Carolina. Trump has lost Minnesota. He's lost Michigan. He's lost Wisconsin. He's lost Pennsylvania. He's lost North Carolina. Those alone are enough to give Kamala Harris the presidency. And now you add Ohio to that, Georgia, Florida, Texas is in play. You know, if Kamala Harris really wants to stick it to him, like she's got those traditional Midwest Iron Belt states now. She's got the ones she needs. She should go to Ohio. She should go to Springfield, do a gigantic, hey, you people are all right type thing in Springfield. She should go to Missouri and get out the vote for the abortion, the abortion that's on the ballot there. She should go to Iowa. In July, Trump had an 18-point lead over Biden, and now it's a 3-point lead. So Iowa's in striking distance. If she did a Midwestern run, went through Iowa, went through Missouri, made it down to Texas, not talking like going to big cities in Texas, going to Dallas and Houston and Austin. No, you go to the medium-sized cities on the hinterlands. You go to the Wichita Falls, Abilene, Waco, Corpus Christi, Brownsville. You go to the outskirts and you pull some of those people who are like in the deep red parts of Texas. And you make them go, you know what? Maybe I will vote different this time around. Because remember, when you vote, no one knows. It's secret. Only you are the one who knows who you're voting for. I think you could flip Texas. So I think she's getting into landslide territory personally. And the Republicans are going to have their own like metaphorical come to Jesus moment about what to do with that in the end. I wouldn't doubt if some October surprises come out and we're getting within a week or two of the election and Trump starts telling his voters that it's rigged, it's impossible, and then starts like pushing them to abstain from voting as a protest. And then she just cleans up even more. So, I personally think it's going to be a rout at this point. You know, you got 2 months, things can change, but I think it's going to be an absolute rout. Colin, apparently the RC fine was something he self-reported. PP was going through the documents. Okay, so he self-reported that he didn't file that document with the SEC. Maybe just to get him on the SEC's good side. Be like, I messed up, guys. I'll pay. And then they go, wow, what a straight shooter. Rick Weir, 3,000 Hezbollah and now dongless. Yeah. And it was pretty diabolical how they designed this thing, because they designed it so that people put it in their pocket or on their belt, right? And when it goes off, you look at it. So the explosion blew off their ding-dongs and blew out their eyeballs and blew off their fingers. Just diabolical. Absolutely. Again, whatever side of the conflict you're on, you have to go, wow. I can't believe someone thought of that or had the opportunity to do that. Just color me impressed as to the planning and execution of that. Scott Pollen, in my opinion, GME becomes a dividend-paying stock similar to Apple in the early days, or Tesla during its CAD accumulation stage before expansion. For me, equity per share keeps rising, and they're making money. That's true. Rick Weir, AMC Biggums agrees with you that rate cuts were too soon. Yeah, it's just a pinch too soon. I think maybe they looked at some things. They're seeing prices come down significantly in grocery stores. My roommate and I were just talking about this, that suddenly we're starting to see prices that were like 2021 prices. Things that were $8 are back down to $6. Things that were $6 are back down to $3. And a lot of that has to do with, I think, two big things. One, the lawsuits against the oligopoly of food producers for fixing prices on things like poultry, pork, beef, dairy, because they were fixing it all. They were artificially jacking up the prices because they were colluding with each other, and they got sued by the state's attorney general and lost. So they had to bring those prices down. And two, the merger between Albertsons and Kroger. So Kroger already admitted in court that they had done price gouging, right? And they want the merger to go through, and their argument is, we'll have so much more power to lower our prices if we come through, which is a bunch of bullshit, because everyone knows once you get a monopoly, you jack up the prices because there's no other options. People can't go anywhere else, especially in places that are relative food deserts and have one grocery store. You don't have any competition at that point. So I think they're lowering prices to show like, hey, there's ample competition. So the FTC doesn't have as much argument in court against their merger. And so I think you're seeing them lower prices going, pretty please, can we please merger? And sniff that butthole, monkey. Get in there. Yeah, that's the good stuff, right? What vintage is it? Huh? What vintage? I think that's the reason why you're starting to see grocery prices drop. The next thing that'll be interesting is oil futures are kind of crashing, which is weird because, well, as much war going on in the Middle East and as much of a dog shit show Venezuela is, why are oil futures dropping? Especially since like a whole bunch of Russian output just got blown up with drone strikes from Ukraine. You think like production wise we'd be pretty strained and prices should be going up, but they're just not. So that tells me that the futures people are pricing in a big pullback in the economy on that. Matt James, 06, Houston. Happy birthday. I'm on the Canadian flat prairies. Are there any cool rocks I should keep an eye out for? The flat prairies, fossils. There's lots of fossil areas, especially like if you get west into Alberta. dinosaur fossils, things like that. And the prairies themselves, a lot of it was inland sea. So like, let me go back to, ignore that. So the prairies in general, so this whole area are the prairies, right? And now the areas south Alberta, this is dinosaur country. You can find lots of dinosaur bones out here. There are badlands. So like the big badlands everyone knows about are the badlands of South Dakota, but there's actually badlands in western North Dakota, and there's some badlands and things in certain areas in Saskatchewan and Alberta, and in there you can find other cool fossils. For the most part, you're not going to find anything too big, like gemstone wise. There's micron gold that was brought down by glaciers. So you can go panning in these streams. You get lots of micron gold and gold flakes. And some of the micron gold is actually really cool gold because it's the only other place you find wire gold in the entire world other than Liberty out here in Washington in the Cascades. And that is native gold. It's gold that's recrystallized. And when gold crystallizes, it makes these really thin wires. And so let's see here. Let's see if I can find Saskatchewan wire gold images, and it might be some stuff. I should put crystalline, crystalline. Again, here we go. So those are big. Those are Liberty ones. That's Liberty. That's Liberty. That's Liberty. I should do micron, crystalline. Oops. Okay. It's not showing me any of the Saskatchewan stuff. It's all the Washington stuff. Anyway, whoops, that's the wrong thing. I didn't mean to do it myself. I meant to go on the Chrome. So this is wire gold. This is the stuff that's, Liberty Mine, Washington. So this is what gold does when it's actually forming a crystal. It makes these really cool little wire structures. And here's one in someone's hand. So this is how this formed in Washington is volcanoes went boom, right? And when they go boom, you make mountains. When you make mountains, you also fracture rocks. The rock fractures, and then when it splits open, hot water that form hot springs come up. And as the mountains are folding and whatever, and temperatures get cooler, the higher up the water goes. And inside that water is a whole bunch of melt of gold and other metals and sulfur and silica and all sorts of stuff. That stuff starts to condense out along the sides of the big fractures. And when it condenses out, you get chunks of gold. And that gold is under pressure still, so it makes the big nuggets. Well, you get a big enough mountain, it erodes away, cliffs fall off, gold gets exposed, goes down to streams and whatnot. And, that's how you normally get gold. In Liberty, it did that. It fell into the streams, and then the mountains went and buried it in a whole bunch of volcanic ash, and buried under ash, buried like, thousands of feet of ash and volcanic rock. And then the gold started to cook underneath all that. And when it cooked, it recrystallized. And that's how you get these doohickeys. And so the gold you're getting, if you go to someplace like Liberty, is it's alluvial gold. So your mine looks like a riverbed, so around rocks and stuff. And you'll find this gold wrapping itself around little pebbles, making all these crazy little shapes. So like that was probably a pebble that it was wrapping around there. And that's probably another one, and so on. And then you get these little fans going in the cracks between rocks. And so you're pulling away the rocks and you get these weird wire crystalline gold that comes out of it. Similar thing happened up in Canada. If we get rid of this thing and bring the Google Earth back, you had, you had lots of gold break off of mountain ranges up here in the Rockies, flows downstream, whatever. And then these big giant glaciers came down in the north and scraped everything over and buried this gold. So the gold got buried in this alluvial mush from the glaciers, and it cooked under there, and but the gold was like teeny tiny little microns. So instead of wrapping around pebbles, it was wrapping around like individual grains of sand. And so you can go in Alberta and in Saskatchewan, you can pan for gold along the rivers, and the gold flakes come out. If you look at them under a microscope, you will see them as like little miniature versions of that wire gold that comes out of Washington. And so that's something cool you can look for. But beyond that, that's as much as I know about that entire region. Dinosaur bones, micron wire gold. There you go. Does that satisfy you, monkey? No one's paid to have you fed so far. So if you're going to starve tonight, but dog, you can have as big eyes as you want. BOH, look up the documentary Praying for Armageddon. There's some interesting stuff in there. Is that about like the doomsday evangelicals that want the world to end, bring Jesus back? Matt Shaver, I'm 35th. Movie Count 2, TV. Sure. Sad Boy Incorporated, Houston. As my name is Sad Boy, I used to think I had depression. That was until I rode on a 300 horsepower jet ski today. Problem solved, right? Movie Account 2, RC Fine was self-reported, so everything would be done pre-merger. That's a good way of looking at it. Is that what OK Betts was talking about? Was you want to get this stuff out of the way, and so that you don't have to worry about any complaints from the FTC or stuff about mergers? Yeah. Sad Boy also bought $11,800 shares of IEP. I think IEP is oversold and will run like GME did earlier this year. I think it is very poised to run where it should be. Most dividend stocks, you're pretty happy if you're getting like 4% returns. You're getting about 10 times that right now. So even when it was giving a $2 per quarter return, the stock price is $50. So you'd think $25 should be naturally where it is. But if it's facing short squeeze territory and Carl Icahn's got something huge planned for those dudes, which he does, bigger than that. I only have like 25 of them, so I'm nowhere near that 11,000 that you're on. Ben Deco, if the U.S. goes into recession and house prices drop, will Canadian home prices in cities such as Calgary drop as well? I don't know how much the U.S. market will affect Canadian markets. Although if there's a bank contagion, that can definitely go international. I think Canadian house prices have to come down because the Canadian market is definitely, just Canada in general, is going into recession. Unemployment's at 7% right now. Cost of living is insane. Something has to happen and something has to break in Canada and to like settle everything out again. Home prices in Canada are the most like disconnected from reality almost in the entire world. Like we thought home prices in the US are bad. Canada is like up there, according to Wage. And a lot of that is due to construction costs, or some of it. There's lots of rules and things that make construction more expensive. But I think a big part of it is outside foreign interests buying into the Canadian real estate market because they want something in a hard currency market. And so if you are a Chinese billionaire, a Russian billionaire, a Saudi billionaire, somebody who's got money from kind of various means from a country that may not have as much freedom, and you want to be able to have a semi-liquid asset that will hold its value stored outside of your country, the Canadian real estate market is bang up for that. And if they started out buying in like Vancouver and Toronto, and then they bought everything up. So they started moving out from there and realizing we can buy anywhere in Canada. I can buy a house in like East Bumfuck. Who cares? And the value will rise because value everywhere is going up in Canada. So that seems to be behind a lot of it. And it can't last. Housing markets crash because it's unsustainable. So yeah, I think you look at Canadian market eventually coming back down to earth. Ford's Easy 9, some money for treat for Monkey Butt. Thanks for all the blonde help. Shall we do Crunchy? Do you want to do a Costco treat? Huh? Yeah. Oh, it says Kirkland on it. Get up here. Come on. Get up. Get up. Get it. Come on. Get up and get it. Come on. It's right there. It's right there. Come on. Get up. Get up and get it. Come on. Oh, there you go. I haven't done Jaws Cam in a while. Probably should have done that. Oh, it's so good, isn't it? Thank you, Ford ZZ9. Nom, 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 nom. Not as loud as the pig ears. Sad boy, not $11,000 IEP, but 11,000 shares of IEP. If this squeezes, then I'm retiring at 24, and we can go skiing at my ski and ski out in Big Sky Vale. Perfect. That's a lot. I mean, you're going to do $45,000 a year in just dividends off of that. That's a living for people, right? You do $45,000 a year in passive income on just dividends alone, plus potential for a squeeze. Nice. You're doing well for yourself there. Right, Monkey? You agree? Yes. Is that good? Is that everything that the Costco has ever wanted for you? Yeah. Oh, you're so happy. Yes. Your cat friend's gone, so you can get back up here. Cat's gone. There you go. Yeah, take your bed. Take your throne, mighty queen. Bendeco. If the U.S. I reset the chat. Dang it. Sorry, one sec. Where were you, Bendeco? The sad boy. Bendeco. If the U.S. goes into recession and house prices... Oh, that's the Calgary one. David Ashemi. Houston. You playing the spy right now? What's your favorite strategy for technical analysis? I do no technical analysis whatsoever. Technical analysis is like astrology. You can draw whatever lines you want, and you can be like, it's going to break out, and then it doesn't break out, and then you draw another line, and you go break out. Eventually, it will break out. But your little pennant and bull flags and whatnot, cup and handles, all that stuff. Like, you can get a cup and handle, or you can get a cup and an immediate drop. And you can say, oh, it's forming a cup and handle, and it doesn't do it the next day. So I never bother with that stuff. I basically look at everything mostly from a macro scale. Like today, I flirted with buying daily spy options. And I was like, okay, I guess if they're going to raise rates, there's a chance the SPY can go up. And then I zoomed out on the map. I might as well show you as much technical analysis as I will ever do. And it's pretty simple. So, boom, get rid of Google Earth. Go away, Earth. All right, so you have the SPY, 564, dropped down to 562 earlier today, and right about 2 p.m. is when they announced that, hey, we're dropping rates, and everyone went up a couple bucks. So it peaked at 566.95, which I think is the highest it's ever been, and then settled out and down. Now, I flirted with buying a SPY option here. It would have been, it's a daily, like it would expire at the end of trading day, and it would have been about $200, right, at the money, and then it would go up here and maybe be worth $300-400. Okay, I just didn't pull the trigger because I was looking at the last several months, right, and our peak was here at the end of August. And if you pull back out even further, we had a peak here in July. We had that big old drop at the beginning of August, and it went back up, peaked again, a little bit of drop, and it peaked. And I just felt like I didn't want to buy anything longer term because it was just really expensive. And I just felt like they were already pricing in the rate cut with this growth right here. Because it was about 10 days ago that the rumors were saying they were going to start cutting rates. And my feeling was I should have bought an option here, and I just didn't. And that they were kind of priced it in. And so already this week, it was already set. And if they had not cut rates and they had kept it the same or they dropped it, I think the SPY would have dropped back down to 540. But they were pretty much going to cut the rates. And that's That's why I didn't really do much with the SPY this time around. I just felt like it wasn't going to be like, oh, we're surprised they cut rates. I think from this point, September 6th, they knew it was coming and they priced it in already. That's why we didn't get much action out of it today. Now, if I had been able to day trade it, I probably could have made $400, but I was having conversations with my aunt and helping fix her computer and not staring at my phone at the ticker going up to 566. So by the time I looked at it again anyway, it was back down to where I would have bought my option in the first place. So I would have missed the window regardless, and then had the whole thing probably expire out of the money, and that would be it. So that's as much technical analysis as I bother with ever. Michael Harrow, Houston, you probably have bone spurs or partially torn rotator cuff, not medical advice. It's not the bone. It's the muscle and whatever nerve is here, and it's coming from here. That's where I messed it up, and I can, like, if I lean over and turn my head to the side, this thing screams. And so it's definitely connected in there. But I can throw a baseball. That's no problem. That the motion isn't, like, there's no impediment of motion. It has to do with something's pinching the nerve, making everything all tingly, and it's driving me up the wall. I am an hour and 9 minutes behind. Goodness gracious. Subway Corporate Houston, go look at the moon. It's 98% illumination tonight. It's a very bright moon, but it's cloudy, so I can't see the moon. I would love to, but I can't. Sid74, clever, but not all that creative. This was a mission in GTA 5. Michael used a cell phone to kill a leader. Tickler, that's true. There was that mission to kill the tech bro. I remember that mission. It had sounded very familiar. Yeah. So some Israeli spy played Grand Theft Auto, and he was like, I have an idea, and it worked. Which goes to tell you that the writing for Grand Theft Auto is top notch. You're right. I remember that. Jiminy, Houston. In relation to the Russia ammo depot, you know Putin's aides were drawing straws for who had to deliver the bad news. Oh, man. Like, can you imagine having to tell Putin, like, hey, Putin, it's gone. What's gone? All of it? What do you mean all of it? All of our bullets, all of our munitions, all of our rockets, everything you got from North Korea, gone. I have no idea if the stuff from Iran is gone in there, but North Korea is definitely gone. So Putin is going to have to go back to Kim Jong-il and be like, hey, buddy, remember that stuff that you gave me? We lost it. It's all gone. Can I have some more? And Kim Jong-il is going to go, oh, you are going to give me your entire wheat harvest, and my people will never starve again. If I were Kim Jong-il, I'd be stoked that all that shit blew up, because then Russia's got to come crawling back and begging, because they're in a worse spot now. And you're going to get all sorts of concessions. You're going to get as much oil as you've ever wanted. You're going to get as much food as you ever wanted. You've got Russia over a barrel at this point. Matter of fact, you could probably invade Manchuria and take it from Russia and then trade it to China for something at that point. They got nothing left. It is bonkers just how much destruction they managed to accomplish. Okay. Bunkers go boom. Yes. Scott Pollen. Ben Deco, the entire Canadian economy is based on real estate, so I can't really imagine the government allowing any kind of meaningful 25% or 35% devaluation of real estate. I think Canada's trying to keep that from happening, and they're going to have to realize that the market going to do what the market do at some point. Canada has an unlimited supply of foreign buyers, which it has abused. That is also true. So, screw you, Canadian individuals. We're going to cater to all these Saudi billionaires and Chinese billionaires and whatnot. And 9, think they'll release that Russian social media list before the election, or what? And what's your bet? Pulte is on that list somehow. I don't think Pulte's on the list personally. I think he succumbs to that propaganda. I thought that the Fed said they're going to release it tomorrow on Thursday. I thought last week they said they're going to release it Thursday of next week, and tomorrow's Thursday. So yeah, I think they're going to get it released before October, so it doesn't look like election interference or whatever. But if I were to have my guess, there's a few people that I think will be on that. I think there's going to be some elected officials. I think there's a chance that folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert, Tom Cotton, folks like that might be on the list. There's a very good chance that almost all of the right-wing, what would you call them? What would you call them, Monkey? Like the anger sphere, the manosphere. A lot of those guys will be on it. Got guys like Jack Posobiec, what was that kid's name? I can't remember all their names, but I think that you'd have Turning Point USA people in there, probably people that are part of Daily Wire. I think there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that are going to come. We got 600 of them, and they're going to be elected officials, former elected officials. Tulsi Gabbard's probably on there. She took a lot of money from weird foreign interests. She's on the no-fly or restricted flight list for a reason, probably because she's under investigation for those specific things. I hope they release it soon, because I kind of wish I had thought to make like a betting pool board to see who's going to be on that list. But basically, if you got folks who can't criticize Putin, you ask them like, hey man, say something bad about Putin, and they refuse, they're on that list. Glenn Greenwald will be on that list. Michael Tracy will be on that list. Jill Stein will be on that list. I don't know if you saw her with Mehdi Hassan the other day, but he tried to get her to call Putin a war criminal, and she wouldn't do it. And she had a weird excuse. She's like, well, you called Netanyahu a war criminal. She's like, well, that's different. And why? Well, because, it's obvious he's a war criminal. He's like, okay, so he's a war criminal. What about Putin? Oh, well, you can't go in. If you're going to become president, you can't just go around declaring people war criminals and expect to do some negotiations with them. And he's like, well, didn't you just declare Netanyahu a war criminal? And wouldn't you be expected to go into negotiations with him? Well, that's different. That's different. And she would not say that Putin was a war criminal. She would not say that he was a bad person. So that's all you need to know if someone's on Putin's payroll, is if they're too scared to say something critical of Putin. And that's it. Everyone else can freely say Putin is a giant hunk of garbage. He is one of the worst human beings to have ever lived, and definitely one of the worst human beings to have lived in the last 50 years. He is terrible. Putin, you suck eggs. You scum. You can say it so easily. Boom, done. Not so bad, right? But if I were getting paid $100,000 a show, I would be definitely avoiding saying bad things about Putin, especially when the alternative is like polonium tea or being pushed out of a window. So like Putin is, maybe he's going to come for me and push me out that second story window right here, but he hasn't paid me first. So yeah. Oh, monkey butt, watch your head. I'm going to close this because the roommate is in the hallway making loud noises. So yeah, I think you're going to find some real eye openers on that sucker. Probably dudes like Russell Brand. I wouldn't doubt if he's on there. A lot of people that are in the anti-vax sphere, you'll find them on there. The anti-vax campaigns all came out of Russian troll farms. Like the huge anti-vax movement was almost entirely generated by Russians. And this is before COVID. We had research papers going back 2018 pointing to specific troll farms and specific accounts tied to the Kremlin that were propagating this information and spreading most of it. And, that it's because, if you get people to not social distance when there's a pandemic, you get them to not vaccinate themselves, you convince them to like eat raw meat and drink raw milk. You know what's going to happen? You're going to get hundreds of thousands or millions of people willingly injuring or killing themselves of your perceived enemy. And if you can't attack them directly with bombers and guns and whatnot, the next best thing you can do is a disinformation campaign where they willingly off themselves with preventable bacterial infections and diseases. So yes, it is very much in the Kremlin's self-interest to convince as many Americans as possible to kill themselves with preventable diseases and preventable bacterial infections. So, not sure really how many folks in that sphere truly are part of these accounts, but I think a lot of them are. So, yeah. So, Monkey, you're vaccinated, so you don't care. You're not on the Russian payroll. You're on the Costco biscuit payroll, and you're doing a pretty bang up job. Someone got a fire going? I close that door. It smells like wood fire. Ugh. Huh. Interesting. Maybe I'm just having a stroke, and then we'll get to watch that live on Houston No Problem. Where was that one? That was the N9 question. BBBY brand. I heard pagers and walkie-talkies are exploding. Must be a crazy amount of work to rig that up in so many devices. And how do you do it at the factory in Taiwan? Do you intercept them, take them all apart, put them back together, and put them it is pretty wild. Pretty wild indeed. Color me impressed, Monkey. Just color me impressed. KCDB, Houston, rate cut 50 basis points. Is Fed admitting they waited too long to cut rates with such a large cut? Why are economists saying recession likely begins now? Probably because if they cut by this much and things don't explode with growth afterwards, then there you have it. Yeah, that's probably what they're saying is that we didn't see like a 10-point rise in the SPY immediately from the announcement of the rate cuts. And so they're probably like, well, it doesn't do anything. I don't think a 0.5 cut is enough to get people to suddenly go out and buy houses, right? There's no savings right now, so no one has the cash for down payments on houses. Yeah, that seems to be kind of probably what they're thinking. You cut rates when things are going to look grim. That's what you do, because you're going to try to spur investment and stuff. So when you're cutting rates, we see a recession on the horizon. We're going to try to stave this off and make it as soft as we possibly can. Or we're already in full-blown recession, cut rates. And those are the two times you cut rates. So that's probably why they're saying recession's on the horizon, because they bothered to cut rates, therefore things must be looking pretty bleak. Since before, Judge Cannon bribery, Elon Musk Russia asset, Senate incompetence may cause shutdown, death of Thurman, preventable but illegal, F Trump. Robert Manson. By the way, not an accredited investor, but hope to be soon. Oh, talking about your purchase of bonds. I don't get paid till Friday. I hope I can get everything cleared. So maybe Monday I can buy some. Because if BBY is supposed to wrap up before the end of the month, then I will need to get as many bonds as I possibly can before the 30th, right? Right? She agrees by twitching her ear. KCB, Houston. Say your local business owner who needs to grow and hire, what do you do? Do you expect 08 crash levels into 2025 or mid-2025? Crystal ball time. First thing if I were a local business owner, depending on the business, right? First thing I would do is I would go to my landlord, because I'm assuming you're leasing space, right? Warehouse, shop, storefront, restaurant space, whatever. I would go to the landlord and be like, hey man, there's lots of vacancies around here. I'm going to move my shop. It's cheaper for me to break my lease and to move because this guy is desperate, and I would negotiate a massively reduced rate and save yourself a pile of money, right? And here's the thing, right? If you can negotiate a hugely reduced rate, and this is kind of a scummy way of looking at it, but you reduce your rate so much, and if the landlord has purchased the building on bonds or loan, they now have less leeway to be able to, they have less cushion, and they got to pay that mortgage or pay that interest rate on that bond or pay that principal. And the value of their commercial real estate is dropped by 30 to 70%, right? And so if it comes time to re-up a bond, they may default. If it comes to a long-term mortgage, they may default as well, which means if they default, then you can just stop paying your rent altogether and float that one out until ownership gets settled by someone. And by then, everything's going to be in such dog shit room. You may be able to renegotiate again for an even lower rate with the new owner. So, or pick it up yourself at auction. So that's the first thing I would look at. Number two, depending on what type of skill workers you need, you may still in the present have a hard time finding those workers. If everything falls off a cliff and we're in full-blown recession, you'll see, 10% unemployment rate and stuff. And then you'll be able to pick up workers probably cheaper than you would expect. But it won't be for some months until we see that happen. You'll probably see, like, companies love to lay off workers around Christmas because they're a bunch of cold-hearted bastards. So if we're going to see massive layoffs in this cycle, it'll probably start coming November, December. And we're seeing like furloughs happen at Boeing, but Boeing has a massive strike of their machinists. Boeing needs to learn what Hollywood didn't learn, which is if your workers are asking for something that isn't unreasonable, give it to them, right? Because Hollywood went 6 months without making any movies or TV shows, killed off multiple companies, their earnings were way down, and now they had problems this year getting enough movies out to satiate everyone's appetite, and end up giving the actors and the writers exactly what they asked for in the first place. So if you're just going to cave in and give them everything they asked for, do it now. Do it the moment they ask for it, and then you can continue business. Boeing already has huge problems with safety and quality and whistleblowers and all that stuff. And the competent, skilled employees who are ensuring that stuff works right, your skilled workers in Seattle, not the dog shit ones out in South Carolina. No offense, South Carolinians, but you make terrible airplanes. The folks you need, the skilled workers that you're not getting replaced, are asking for a huge raise and for you to guarantee the next generation plane be made in the Northwest. You just say, yeah, okay, you get it. Because those folks can go anywhere. An aerospace machinist can get a job in any shop in the world making as much money as they demand. So you just give it to them. Done. Because otherwise what happens is you're going to start furloughing workers because the planes can't get built and then you're not going to meet orders. You're going to have less orders to begin with. So just pay them now. Just pay them. Give them what they want. Let business continue. It's not that difficult because you're just going to cave to them anyway. They were offered a 25% raise, so you're going to give them that 40% raise they want. Cost of living in Seattle's gigantic, so just give it to them. Inept Owl. Is MOAS still in play, or have the shorts covered the dilution? Shorts haven't covered shit. Adam Davey, Houston. I read No Lab's most recent trial release. Seems their MARD was 14%, which is worse than last time. They only had 5 points, but still, thoughts concerning it all? I mean, it depends on if they're tweaking their algorithm or not, and what the sample size was. Because they were at, was it 13 before? So it's slightly worse. It's still within, the acceptability range as far as I know. But I think they're tweaking their algorithm for like what the feedback is on the device versus what the readout is, and then trying to figure out what that corresponds to. But I'm not too worried. Not too worried on that. Brandon Wells is here. KCDB again. Houston, I was prescribed medication that put me in the hospital 2 times in the ER and 1 week in the hospital. Worst pain of my life. Do I have a case to sue drug companies or others? No legal advice. Go talk to a lawyer. Their lawyers will take that on a contingency. And if it's something that's happened across multiple people and is not a cited adverse effect, you might have yourself, sue everybody, sue the doctor, sue the hospital, sue the drugstore, because they'll settle and you'll just get a pile of cash and you can buy as much GameStop as you want with that. So get your nut. One of my biggest regrets in my entire life was not suing the crap out of Pizza Hut when I got salmonella. I was like, I'm a tough. I can just walk it off. I'll be fine. You idiot. I look back 20 years and I go, you idiot. You know Bill Marler, the #1 food poisoning, food safety lawyer in the entire world. You'd be like, hey, Bill, can I sue Pizza Hut for $1 kajillion because I spent 4 days in the hospital and lost 45 pounds and now I can't digest food? He'd been like, yes, we will sue. You'll be the plaintiff. We will get we'll get class action, and they will settle for $1 kajillion. Your student loans are paid for, and your life is set. I don't know why I didn't do that. I just 43-year-old Houston looks back at 23-year-old Houston and goes, "You moron!" Like, just sue them and take whatever money they're going to give you. Some lessons are expensive. Season 54. Oh, sorry. I missed. BOH, minor correction. The 50 basis point rate cut happened in 2007, and the market started to fall off a cliff in October 2007, I think. October 2008 is when the market fell off a cliff. It was December 2007 is when the housing market started to slow down. So they cut rates, and within 2 months, the housing market started to brrr and cause people to start getting scared. So, but it was Lehman Brothers imploding in October 2008 or September 2008 that finally did it all in. Season 54, Judge Roberts is a racist piece of hack. Supreme Court needs to be audited for impropriety. Remove all corrupt judges, Roberts, Alito, Thomas, Kavanaugh. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but some memos from Chief Justice Roberts got leaked showing that he was in the bag for Trump from the get-go, and that he wanted the Supreme Court to bring up presidential immunity just so he could rule that the president can do whatever the hell he wants. And the 4 dissenting justices were like, no, we shouldn't bring this up. Like, the president is a citizen like everyone else under the same laws as everyone else. Robert's like, no, we'll bring this up. And the minority got their butt kicked on that one. And it seems Judge Roberts was in the bag for Trump the entire time. So yeah, we've got justices. They're taking millions of dollars in bribes. We got justices who are bringing in their own political bias to the bench and not looking at the law itself and trying to find any excuse they can to justify their own political causes in that respect. This is probably the worst court since Plessy versus Ferguson. KCDB, why so many Trump sycophant billionaires saying they will sell everything if Kamala is elected? We seem so divided on each side that the other is end of it. Oh, sorry, I can't read. We seem so divided on each side that the other is the end of it all, but is this logically true? Billionaires will be fine. They will always be fine because they can afford to be fine. Unless they do something so outwardly egregious, such as trafficking thousands of little girls out of their mansion in Virgin Islands, they're just going to be fine. Like Elon Musk is basically established. He is owned by Putin, that he's actively trying to destroy democracy, that he's destroying investors' money, and he's just a racist piece of shit. He's fine. Nothing's happening to him, right? So you really have to there's a line somewhere, and it took 20 years for Epstein to cross that line, but every other billionaire goes right up to it and nothing happens to them because what are you going to do? They're rich and they can buy private armies and crap. So, they can rattle their, sabers and get all angry and stuff, but they're not going anywhere. They'll still have their house in the U.S. They'll still have their U.S. passport. Sure, they'll have their home in Dubai in case they do something so egregious they need to escape, or in their home in, their bunker in New Zealand, that if the world ends, they're going to go live there and live like kings. But in reality, it's going to be the former Navy SEALs that are their guards are going to live like kings, and you're going to be their bitch because currency at that point is worthless. It's all about the warlord status. So, yeah, Peter Thiel's bodyguards, that's not his bunker, that's his bodyguard's bunker once the world ends. Which is probably why Zuckerberg is learning all the jiu-jitsu, so that if he needs to, he can fight his own bodyguards for control of his Kauai bunker. But yeah, it's now if you are a middle class or lower minority in this country, if you're an immigrant, if you're the child of immigrants, if you are a naturalized citizen, not a natural born citizen, you do have obvious concerns. You know, Agenda 47, Project 2025 outlines literally the removal of undocumented immigrants. Now, you can argue all you want about whether undocumented immigrants should be here, whatever, but they're setting up a system for like literally concentration camps for mass deportations. Okay. But you can already see a slippery slope happening. Last October, you had guys like Stephen Miller talking about using Project 2025 to ramp up the ability of the executive branch to de-citizenize people. Basically going, you're no longer a citizen, and removing their citizenship from them. So removing the rights they have as a human being for being an American citizen, just arbitrarily be like, nope, you're not a citizen anymore. And then you can do whatever you want to them. You're now here without a visa. You're now illegal into the camp with you, right? You had Trump yesterday, speaking with a whole bunch of, law enforcement officers. And there's a short little clip. I posted it, and he said, people say I shouldn't call these illegal immigrants animals, but I'm going to call them animals. And I basically said, yeah, he's going for the Hitler vote on this one. This is exactly the language that Hitler was using against Jews and other minorities in Germany. They're animals. You can do whatever you want to them. You can pin them up. You can kill them. You can slaughter them. And, a lot of folks got into my mentions on Twitter angry, like, you didn't take the whole clip. You're talking about criminals who are illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants commit crime at less than half the rate of American citizens. So in general, they are a safer group of people than the people that were born here. Well, those people are animals too. I'm like, okay, let's say yes, you can call criminal undocumented immigrants animals. Okay. So just last week during the debate, we watched Trump label a gigantic group of legal, innocent immigrants here in this country as criminal animal murderers, right? So if the people who don't commit crimes are okay, but the ones that commit crimes are animals, and then you start accusing people who haven't committed crimes of committing crimes, they're now animals too, right? So you are going to then label entire swaths of the population as illegal, as criminals, as animals. And you're going to put them into those concentration camps that are mentioned in Agenda 47 and in Project 2025 that Trump's chief of policy, Stephen Miller, has outlined, while also ramping up the ability to strip American citizens of their citizenship, making them illegal immigrants suddenly. It seems like a no-brainer to me about where the slippery slope goes from there. So, it's all racist. We saw that one dude from the Heritage Foundation have the N-word slip when he was referring to the Haitians. He called them Haitian N-word, and he's like, oh, migrants. And then tried to be like, no, I was trying to say immigrant and migrant at the same time, and just the N-word came out. No, dude, you're racist. And that's what it comes down to. You are fucking racist. And that's where your policies lie, is in this rampant, unapologetic racism against minorities, against people with different cultures than you, against people with different belief systems than you. You want everything to be white. You want everything to be evangelical. You want everything to be male. That's basically it. So, I'm fine. I'll fly under the radar. But if you don't have blue eyes and white skin like me, well, you can't blend in. You don't have that power. And the Stephen Millers of the Trump administration, they're coming for you because they want nothing more than to see you suffer and see your pain, because that's what gives them a chubby in the end. So, that's what this comes down to, is literally their blatantly racist agenda to punish as many people as they can, to scapegoat for the fact that, everything else they do is dog shit. So you need to blame someone for it all. It's a... That's what that is. I'm now an hour and 20 minutes behind. But it's all right. I don't see too many new chats popping up in there. Foil by foil. Sad boy. The only sample size is 5 people. Oh, so the test was only 5 people. Okay. Talking about the no labs test. Matthew Greenwell, 1 of 2, my theory on what evolutionary stages are necessary to be apex predator country on this planet. First, thumbs, prefrontal cortex, control land, ocean access, Bill of Rights, aircraft carriers. Then, first to nukes combined with capitalist economy that can produce stable inflation and employment wins. What did I miss? The stable economy can only last for so long until resources become a major competition, and populations can only grow so much until everyone stops being able to have kids, because the steady inflation results in folks not being able to afford to have them, right? So then they start having them, and then all of a sudden you have a working class that's smaller than the retired class, and everything just gets kicked out of whack, and then you get massive deflation after that. So the United States invites immigrants in, which can make up for a lot of that. But if you have a lot of xenophobia against those immigrants, you're going to run into problems such as Japan and China, where you have shrinking populations. Now, in the next 30, 40 years, China's population is going to go from 1.4 billion down to 600 million. That is a lot of empty housing. A lot, right? And a lot of the housing will be too big because these people aren't having kids, right? So you want to buy a house 40 years from now. If you are born today in China and you're a 40-year-old wants to buy a house, you're probably going to buy that house for a fraction of the price of what you'd be buying it for today. And in Japan, Iggy sends me these little video clips of people who've been buying houses in Japan. And they have these beautiful, 3-bedroom house, multiple bathrooms, walking distance to a train station, whatnot. And they're getting them for like $36,000 US because they've been abandoned. An older person lived there. They died. Their children don't want to live in this town. They moved to the city. Is draining out. The population is shrinking. The population is getting older. And Japan is, they like guest workers, like people who come work for a little bit and it's like, oh, see Japan, get the fuck out of here. China, they got a few regions where you have a few outside workers that immigrate to China, but they still don't want them permanent. You got places like Italy, where entire towns, all the youth have left and just a bunch of old people left behind. So you can buy beautiful, townhomes and villas for pennies, right? Because they are not as welcoming to immigration coming in. And a place like Italy, their population decline is so great, they need a minimum of 300,000 immigrants a year just to maintain their workforce, right? So, maybe all these populations around the world decline and then AI does everything for us, but then what? Right? How are we going to get that cheddar? How are we going to have a market economy of any kind if we have robots doing everything for us and we serve no purpose? Then only the lowest of the low do some sort of menial labor that is like too annoying to make a robot do it. I don't want to program that and just make, Ted. No one likes Ted. He gets to deal with the trash, right? So I don't know how sustainable in the end it is. It's a great way to get to the top, but you gotta adapt to be able to maintain that stage. And we're running into conflicts of it because to maintain that stage, we need the immigrants. And a lot of those immigrants are not white. And a lot of the white people who have been here are very, very scared of people who aren't white because, I don't know, they're a bunch of pussies. I don't really know what it is. Like, oh no, someone from another culture brought in a really good restaurant with food I've never tried before. Oh, the sky is falling. There's curries everywhere. Just buck up. Buck up, Billy the Wasp. You're fine. You're landed gentry. You will still have your house in Greenwich and your house in Newport and your house in Hawaii. You're fine. Yeah. There's a couple more people who their English is not their first language, living in this country, achieving the goals that your grandparents did a long time ago. You're going to be fine. 110 Mahir, do shorts cover GME? No, they have not even come close to covering GME. KCDB coordinates. A lot of coordinates today. Boink. Boom. Bam, bam, bam. Where are we going? We're in Sub-Saharan Africa. We're in the Sahel. We are... Oh, Vagina Mountain. Oh, we've been here before. Isn't this like Tanzania? The Tanzania hoo-ha? This is Schlong Island's... There we go. So, Schlong Island wishes it was closer to Africa for this sucker. First time I came here, my brain totally did not recognize Africa's hoo-ha. But there are lots of crazy little craters here. Looks like mortar fire or something, doesn't it? It's like these are trees. Oh, my brain was inversing it. Those are trees. Okay, never mind. Those are just trees out there. But yeah, that's a bushy little African hoo-ha. What a weird geologic formation that is. Like, what in the world? Okay, I'm just glad people peruse Google Earth, every square inch of Google Earth, just to find such lovely little treats like that. Jay Geyser, I tagged you on Blue Sky regarding MMTLP. Has that hit your radar, or do you have more info, or was this just more of the same? Blue Sky, ping. I have no tags. Oh, wait. Oh, it's the video from a few days ago. Yeah, I saw some mention. It's talking about that they're asking for that the company itself is asking for 2 more days of trading. I have seen no confirmation from the company about that. I think that's still speculation at this point. I think what they're going to do is they're going to file another S1 and then sort of like put a gun to the head of the SEC and be like, give us 2 more days or we're going to execute this NUCO thing on a blockchain stock that you can do nothing about, and we're going to blow this whole thing up. I think that's kind of... Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Hey, I did not comment on that. I did like it because I saw it and I watched the video and then I forgot to go back and comment. So that's how that works sometimes. You send me a video, I go, oh, I watched that video. And 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay. And then I move on with my life. And I totally forget to go back to where the video came from and comment on it. Antonio Baez is playing volleyball while we wait for your shoulder to feel better. Right, Monkey Butt? Oh, yeah, totally. I can spike a volleyball. It's right there. It's so weird. It's such a weird thing. Oh. Anonymous Houston, how did a picture of Trump on the subreddit drive so many people insane? It is bots. Like, if you guys post something Trump related onto the subreddit, 1,000 bots come out of nowhere and start posting the same thing over and over again. And then Houston has to spend all morning removing those accounts. They all have negative karma. Like the number of negative 100 karma. I wish Reddit would allow people to have an infinite amount of negative karma, just like they can have an infinite amount of positive karma, because I want to see just how much these bots have been downvoted overall. And it should get to the point where if you get pegged, you get to 1,000 negative karma, they just remove your account. Because at that point, you're not offering anybody a positive experience in your platform. You're just there as a troll to ruin everyone's experience. And I'd love to just feel like negative karma, remove them entirely. And I know there's some more sophisticated subreddits that have like bots they program that automatically block people enough karma. I don't have that sophistication in my life. So Houston has to physically do it and just go, negative karma, you're gone. You're a Russian bot, you're gone. You're an obvious troll, you're gone. And I have to go through and just way too much time in my day. And I'm scared about letting other people in as mods, because I see what happened to other groups when they get let as mods and happen to be little, just evil little guys that work for hedge funds and they ruin the entire subreddit. So Houston's going to take on the subreddit himself, even if there's 5,000 subscribers now. Luke Alexander, Houston. Did you see the footage of the Ocean Gate wreckage? Yep. Yeah. And see how teeny tiny thin that carbon fiber was? That stuff was not designed to handle thousands of pounds of pressure. Oh, I got some racists in here. I'm glad whoever nuked these accounts. Okay. Edward Kim, personal opinion, GameStop is going to take another stab at the NFT marketplace again with the $4 billion raised. Very possibly. Can Katie in Houston dance for me? I'm with it. For ZZ9, bond help, talk to text, bond help, talk to text. What? Oh, not the blonde help, the bond help. Okay, that's all right. There we go. All right. Attaining oneness. Have the Rust polls been released yet? The Rust polls been released? Are you talking about like Rust Belt polls for the presidency? 538 presidential polls. Anything updated? It has gained the spread now nationally of the amalgamated polls. Harris is up by 3 points nationally, 3.3 points, 48.5 to 45.2. Economist has her up 4 points. ActiveVote has her up 6 points. Washington Post up 5 and 2. Beacon Research, Fox News. Fox News has her up 2 points. So if Fox News is coming up with her 2 points, that's like a 5-point spread for sure. She's up with Angus Riedel. She's up with Daily Mail. Morning Consult has her up by 6. Big Village by 6. Big Village by 5. Big Village by 6. Data for Progress by 4. Yahoo, YouGov by 4, 4, 4, 5. Tip Insights by 4 and 4. ABC News, 5, 4, 6, 6, 5, and 4, 6. So this is all stuff that's been published in the last week. So these are the most recent ones. So she is crushing it nationally. These are all the national ones that got released. So, yeah. Nationally, she's looking good. It's the state polls we got to look at. Let's look at Pennsylvania. Where's Pennsylvania here? Pennsylvania. Boom. There's Pennsylvania. She is starting to break free. She's now up by 2 points in Pennsylvania. So she's ahead in Quinnipiac. She's at Insider Advantage, which was around the same period. She was down, actually. Suffolk has her up. Telegraph from last week has her tied. And Morning Consult from 2 weeks ago has her up. So are there any new ones from Ohio? That's one I'm just interested to see what's changed in Ohio since then. Nothing new, nothing from Ohio since September 8th, so before the debate. Hey, Morning Consult, Emerson College, you guys go out there and you do one now because I really want to see what's changed, because he's up by 8 and 10 basically in these most recent ones from the end of August. And my guess is the stuff that's been going on in Springfield is going to flip that sucker around. The other one is Iowa is getting close. So scroll up to Iowa. Idaho, Iowa. There we go. She's now within 4, according to Des Moines Register. Now, this was the spread in June with 18 points, and she's closed that gap by a lot. This is showing Trump losing people. So Trump's lost 3%. So essentially, 6% of his entire voters were like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And she's gained 11 on that. So that's kind of a big deal. That's a big deal indeed. And then look at big states like Florida, where 270 Win has it now as a toss-up. Florida. There we go. So Florida, it's been narrowing. 44 to 50, 47 to 49, Morning Consult, 48-51, Emerson's, they're really, really good. And that's still from like 2 weeks ago. So this is all these are pre-debate right here. And remember, Haitians broke for Trump in 2020. And now Trump and JD Vance are labeling Haitians as like, they're going to eat your pets. They're monsters. So you're going to lose 500,000 Haitian voters right off the bat in Florida. And all their neighbors, all the people who go to their shops and restaurants and everything else are going to be like, dude, fuck you. So I expect to see Florida narrow even more. Remember, Florida has abortion on the ballot. They need a 60% majority in order to pass the bill to allow abortion to happen. And so you're going to get a lot of folks pushing really hard at certain demographics to get them out and vote. And I was joking with my roommate, you'll probably have a lot of housewives giving their husbands Ambien on election day so that they sleep through it and somehow forget to vote. But abortion on the ballot, I think, can definitely swing Florida into Harris's way on there. All sounds good. MOE is plus minus 3 points. Margin of error. Yeah, margin, depending on the sample size, but most margin of errors are 2 to 3 points. So most everything is within the margin of error, but because of you can look at, let's go back. National, that's what we want. So give me that's what I want. There we go. So you can see on this graph, you can see all these little dots. This is the date. So this is the time on the x-axis here and the amount of voters on the y-axis. But you have, if it, does it favor Trump? Does it not favor them? Does it favor Harris? And it will show the amalgamation of all of them. So what you have is these two trend lines for trending where Harris is on average between all of these different ones, even including the outliers. And you got, guys like RFK down here, and RFK dropped out, so he doesn't count anymore. But he's on a ballot in a couple of places. They're still including him in some of those polls. But, it's the trend is very apparent. That Harris is approaching 50% of the voters here. Are you sick of being out there? You want to come back in? I only got a couple more minutes, and then Houston's going to be done for the evening because he's got to wake up early to go get an appointment to have somebody look at his arm. So, yeah. Where am I? Brandon Howard, think there's a chance GME dilution completes tomorrow, or is the volume just too low? Dilution luckily completes next week. I bought a couple of GME calls, weeklies, just an off chance that they go, we're done with our dilution, and it goes up a couple of bucks because they were really cheap. I picked up at the money for 30 cents today. I was like, yeah, and it did touch 20 bucks. I was up. I almost doubled my money at one point. But I have a feeling that they can say we completed our dilution and the price will go up to 21 by Friday if that's the case. And just a little gamble on that, see what happens. Right? Yeah, right, kitty? You're gonna make that dog want to go on the floor. Elijah Van Wormer. I saw a story earlier showing sources of Democrats always calling Republican candidate Hitler, going back to before Nixon and after Nixon, all the way to Bush, and now as every Republican nominee such. Well, here's the thing, is that the modern Republican Party has embraced the Confederacy. The party switched after, beginning with FDR through the Civil Rights era, Southern Democrats, who were traditionally conservative, left the Democratic Party and became Republicans, while Northern Republicans, who were generally liberal, left the Republican Party and became Democrats. So there's a platform switch that happened in the middle of last century. So if you say, hey, I'm going to tear down this Confederate statue, you don't have Democrats showing up being like, how dare you? You have a whole bunch of Republicans showing up, and then they'll be chanting things like Jews will not replace us and blood for soil, and they'll do Nazi chants. So they're firmly entrenched. Those neo-Confederates and neo-Nazis are firmly entrenched on the right. In every election, they endorse the Republican candidate. In every election, you don't see the Republican candidate go, fuck you guys. I don't want you racists anywhere near me. You just don't see it happen. So, KKK, the neo-Nazis endorsed Trump in 2016. They did it again in 2020. They're doing it again this year, right? So if you're going to say, oh, that guy is next coming of Hitler, that may not be entirely accurate, but their fervent fan base definitely are fans of him. That distilled group of hate aren't going third party. They don't have their own little Nazi candidate or neo-Confederate candidate. They're voting mainstream Republican, and they're bringing that with them. So yeah, that's why you see people like Nixon, who did the Southern strategy, right? He's famous for the Southern strategy. Basically, like Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and said, we've lost the South for a generation. He was wrong. He lost the South for several generations. And Nixon worked the Southern strategy specifically to target these racist clowns to come side with him, saying, hey, I'm secretly with you guys. Wink, 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 right? And that's where it came from. So, yeah, they might not specifically be Hitler, but with unchecked power, kind of. And Trump is the closest ever to attempt stuff like the Nazi Party. Overthrowing the government, self-graft, purposely putting white, like visibly out and proud white supremacists in positions of power and policy in his White House. So yeah, that's why you see that. And people be like, Democrats are communists. Well, not really, because there's actually communist parties in the United States. There's socialist workers parties, communist parties, national socialist workers parties. Like, you have 20 socialist candidates, and if you're a socialist, you're generally voting for the socialist candidate and not voting for the Democrat. So they don't have these workers parties equivalent on the right. You might have a weird candidate like RFK show up, or Reform Party guys, Pat Buchanan. Pat Buchanan being involved did give the straight up neo-Confederates and neo-Nazis someone to vote for, because that's who Pat Buchanan is. But generally they just go for the Republican in that case. So just Blackwell Houston. There seems to be a correlation between the anti-vaxxers from 4 years ago and the extremists today. Broken brains? Yes. Vernok, Japan has something like 2 million immigrants from China or Korea. They just don't want folks that aren't sharing the same culture as them. That's true. And, sometimes they can kind of blend in more so than somebody from Africa could, etc. 64, sorry, that was me with the Trump pick and post, just bot farming the sub, hoping to get them banned. My bad. So many of them. What's funny is I'll ban, like today, I probably banned 200 accounts, right? Because I was spending the last hour before the show began just trying to ban as many as I could. And out of that 200, maybe one or two will be like, how dare you? You don't believe in freedom of speech? I'm like, oh, you're a real human being. But I couldn't tell from your posts because you post just like a Russian troll. So regardless, guy who has negative 100 karma, you offer nothing of value to the subreddit. So if you act like a bot, I'm going to treat you like one. Tough shit, deal with it. But the rest of them, if they're bots, they don't bother messaging and be like, oh, fiddlesticks, I don't get to play on the sub anymore. They just bought on to the next thing to do their reactionary programming towards. So Yeah. And of the ones that messaged me that are upset they got banned, half of them then say horrible slurs towards me. Right? They're like, you F word, you N word, whatever. And I then go, oh, report slurs, and then that count disappears forever. So by all means, if I ban you from the subreddit for having negative karma or acting like a bot, I really don't feel bad about it at all. Even if you are a true, honest human being who believes in the weird gobbledygook you just posted, you probably should have access to the internet anyway for your own safety. Corporate Walnut, what's the coolest rock in North America? The coolest rock in North America, like specifically like a single rock, is probably Giant Boulder in Southern California. Or Giant Rock. Sorry, Giant Rock in Southern California. It's the coolest single rock, maybe in the world. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing because the map's not on there. Giant Rock. Boom. Giant Rock, California. Boom. Boom. So Giant Rock, flying around the world. I'm going to slap down here in the Mojave, near Lander. Shabap. Okay, so this is Giant Rock. Giant Rock is the largest freestanding boulder in the world. It was even bigger, and then in 2002, randomly, this huge chunk just cleaved off of it one day. Bonk. Giant Rock is it's a big fella. This is Giant Rock and the piece that cleaved off in 2002. They need to have a human being for scale, but it's like right around here is probably 6 feet up. So a 6 foot tall person would probably be about yaw. Monkey Butt's been here. I've been here. Now Giant Rock, largest freestanding boulder in the entire world, was very significant to the Mojave peoples. This was a place of worship. This was a very sacred spot. You can see there's giant boulders all over the place, but this is the biggest of all the boulders in existence, all over the world. And it sort of got co-opted by Westerners as they came in here. And, they have like raves and stuff out here. But there was a couple things that happened in recent history. One, if we zoom out, we can look at the Mojave Proving Grounds. So just like right over this hill. So there's about a line right here. Everything to the east was the Mojave Proving Grounds. This is where General Patton did all their tank maneuvers to test themselves to get ready for North Africa and trained like 1.5 million soldiers and Marines and stuff to go out and be badasses. Let's see, here's this, here's one of the fake Iraqi cities they built. You can't quite see it. But yeah, this is one of the training centers to make it look kind of like a city in Iraq and to do training maneuvers and whatever. But during World War II, you had like 1 million soldiers out here doing tank maneuvers and all sorts of crazy stuff. And then you had Giant Rock. And under Giant Rock, literally under the rock, a German immigrant who was a gold prospector dug a tunnel and made this 1,000 square foot like apartment under Giant Rock. And he was just he'd been living in the US for like 40 years at this point, and he was prospecting all over the place, and he had this little apartment that he made himself under Giant Rock. Well, the U.S. goes to war, and everyone's paranoid about everything, and the proving grounds are literally a 2-minute walk. He's on a military base where General Patton is doing all of stuff, and they're afraid that he's a German spy. And so the county sheriff comes to evict him from Giant Rock because he's a German citizen way too close to the proving grounds. And out of fear, they start shooting. Like the guy, I don't even know if the guy was even awake, but they go in, they start shooting, and they trigger his load of dynamite he uses for excavations, and he blows everyone up inside of the home. So underneath Giant Rock is now an entombed German prospector who got blown up by the county sheriff's office. Okay. Post-war, a dude comes along and he's convinced that it's a sacred spot, it's the largest boulder of its kind, this is a meeting place for extraterrestrials. And he creates this entire cult based upon the fact that this is where extraterrestrials come from other solar systems. They meet at Giant Rock. And so he had a little temple here. This black thing here is the tarmac. There used to be this weird little temple that he built. And in order to further his own weird little cult, he built this really stupid looking object called the Integratron. There we go. Integratron right here. The Integratron. This was supposed to be a spaceship that would allow his followers to go into space. But it was built with plywood, so I'm not sure exactly how good the Integratron would have been integrity-wise in outer space. But it's this little dome thing. This is the Integratron. And after he died, some hippies bought it, and now you can go get like $10,000 sound baths while they like bang on gongs and shit and rub bowls, and then you get cured of your diseases and whatnot. I tried. I last time I was here, my cousins and I were trying to film little YouTube videos. And so we went to the Integratron. I'm like, hey, can we film a little video here and talk about the history of this place? And the hippies were like, absolutely not. Get out of here. I was like, but I was just going to make fun of you. So yeah, that giant rock, just based on that goofy crap alone, is the coolest rock in North America or in the world. Just the coolest rock in the world. Just a big giant granite boulder that calved in half. And then people will come out here and drink and do drugs and party. And then there's an Entomb German. And lots of spray painting. Lots and lots of spray painting. So when I was here last, there were lots of swastikas. So I used my own spray paint and sprayed it over those swastikas because fuck those guys. And I should have a picture of somewhere. I think for a long time, my... one sec. Oh, where? Yes. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Get me there. Did it work? Did it? Gah! Gah! Hmm? There we go. Oh my God. I can't. This stupid thing's maybe do my password like 900 times, and I can't find the picture right now. But there's a picture of Monkey Butt and Giant Rock. It's a pretty cool picture of her. Like you can see how teeny tiny she is and how big the rock is. I bet I can find some good ones. Giant Rock, California. There we go. Okay. Here we go. All right, we have some with there's some humans. There you go. There's humans. You can see the scale of how big that boulder is. You're like, oh, I've seen bigger rocks. Well, the other big rocks you've seen aren't freestanding boulders. Oftentimes they're like mesas or hoodoos or things that are actually still firmly attached to earth. Like you could, if you had a big enough bulldozer, you could pick this thing up and roll it over. That's what makes giant rocks so special. Here's some sort of, looks like some sort of gathering a long time ago. A giant rock. Here's some folks walking between or on their motorcycles between two boulders. Here must be a concert or, oh no, this is one of the alien events. Yeah. So there's some folks driving. This is before it cleaved, right? It's a long time ago before it cleaved in half. And this must be also before it cleaved. I think that part is the part that cleaved off. So those guys are standing right under where a giant like 80 bajillion ton rock broke. And here's a more modern picture from the side showing where it cleaved off. You get a lot of overlander dudes will show up here and they're badass trucks and the road's pretty gnarly if you come from the north from like Johnson Valley. But yeah, there's the coolest rock in the world. Congratulations. Mervyn Turf, Houston, on your love of spy media, have you seen Patriot on Amazon? Patriot is brilliant and it is criminal they never made a third season. Excuse me. Patriot. The way I describe Patriot to people, because you watch it and you will laugh your ass off and fall in love with all the characters, because some of the best character acting I've ever seen in my life. But it's if Wes Anderson made the Bourne films, that is Patriot. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's basically it. If you can somehow imagine that in your head, go on Amazon, watch Patriot, and you will laugh so hard. It is brilliant. But yes, I love Patriot. Elijah Van Warmer, that is disappointing. Racism is so embedded with the Republican Party. And that's true. 64. I get Reddit cares messages all day and night. At least someone cares. You can block those. You can go block Reddit cares. Because what trolls will do is they will flag you for saying you're suicidal. And you get these Reddit cares messages like, someone said that you're suicidal. We care about you. And it's a form of harassment. And so they allow you to block the Reddit cares things. And if it gets really bad, you can actually report them for doing that, and they'll just delete their accounts. Plymouth Rock sucks. 70s, 80s rock's probably the best. Okay. All right. What will AI Houston say next by our open comments? All right, everybody. It's late. It's 10 o'clock at night here. I'm going to check out. And I'll see you guys. If anything interesting happens tomorrow, I might do a show. I might go for a walk with a friend after my doctor's appointment. But I will see you guys on Friday for sure. One of these days, I'm going to get the political channel going. Probably after the election, when I won't be able to draw an audience to save my life. But we're going to try Bill Marler on next Wednesday. He is the world's foremost expert on food safety. And he's got very good points about the differences in administrations and how they treat food safety for Americans, and how many people get poisoned under certain administrations versus others, and who actually fixes it. So we'll talk about that when I get him on, hopefully next Wednesday. So if you want to know what he's all about, go to Netflix, watch the documentary Poisoned. It was a book that was written. He was featured in the book, and when the book got published, he asked the authors, like, hey, can I buy the movie rights to this thing so we can make a documentary? He was like, yeah, whatever. So he bought the movie rights, and then eventually got approached by a production company. And so he produced the documentary about sort of food safety history in America. And it's a pretty good documentary. It's very well done. They won a bunch of awards. They were nominated for all sorts of awards, Emmys, and I think maybe even Academy Award or something. Or Directors Guild, one of those. So go on Netflix, watch Poisoned, and you'll get yourself familiar with who Bill Marler is. And we'll have him on hopefully next Wednesday, and he can talk all about that and drive some traffic to the politics channel. All right, everyone, have a great night, and I will see you all later. Let's classic After Dark, right?